Are you ready to make money through sponsorships on your show? Well, my friend, you are in the right place at the right time. Today, we're joined by Billy Thorpe, and he is the CEO of Creating for Money at creatingformoney.com. That's creatingformoney.com. And he's an expert in sponsorships, specifically podcast sponsorships. And in this episode, he basically lays out the entire framework for you to land your first sponsor, price it out, get the media kit, show value, and get paid. Because this month in the Podcast Savant Mastermind community, we are covering monetization, how to monetize your show. And by the way, if you're not part of a community, you need to right now. I'm going to put a link below. I really want you to give our group a try for a month. We spend about an hour a week. That's all I ask for you. Give me an hour a week, and you're going to focus on the topic of the month. And I promise you, if you are executing on the topic of the month, 1 hour a week, your podcast is going to grow, your monetization is going to grow, your entire business is going to grow. And listen, it's only $25 to get started. You definitely want to join. What are you waiting for, bro? What are you waiting for? Join us. You're going to be super thrilled that you did. So with all that said, now that you've joined, now that you've hit the subscribe button, it's time for Billy Thorpe to join the show and just lay down the entire framework. You are going to be so glad you listened to this episode. And just a quick spoiler alert, about halfway through this episode, I told Billy, I'm going to have to listen to this episode a couple more times because you're just laying it all out there. So anyway, for all the podcast savants out there who are taking action, this is the time. Let's go ahead and run the tape and let's monetize our show. All right, DJ, run the tape. Yo, Billy, what up?
What's up, Mark? Good to see you, man.
Good to see you again. Long time no see, bro. I hope you are kicking butt today. I'm excited to talk shop today, man, because every time that we get on a stage, you start talking about creating for money, how we can generate more income from our podcast. And I'm, Jerry Maguire style, show me the money. I want to make more money, brother. So I'm excited to have you here.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. It was one of those things where, it's kind of weird. Like I started out podcasting and quickly realized that people found value in it and there's opportunity for sponsorships and other avenues. So I just dove in and I didn't realize that people didn't do that. So I just kept throwing enough mud against the wall and made something happen. So yeah, man, excited to share.
Right on. So let's talk about that before we get into actually the nuts and bolts and the gritty, like the ABCs of how to get sponsors for our podcast. Tell me a little bit about the mud, right? So when you got started, like how painful was it trying to find your first sponsor?
Well, man, I'll tell you what happened was I started this. It sounds so funny. What happened was I started a live streaming fishing show because I wanted to learn how to saltwater fish. So I started live streaming and on Facebook, a weekly show. And it just it kind of took off, man. People were listening to the podcast, or they were watching it rather. They were watching the live stream. Then they started reaching out saying, hey, can you guys do a podcast? So I'm like, sure, I'll just take the audio and make it a podcast. Like, no big deal. And then, from that, it started gaining traction and somebody reached out to us and was like, hey, we want to sponsor. And we had sponsors, but it was more like people that were in our friend circle. We just wanted to promote their business. And that was it. Like it wasn't really paid. Like my business sponsored the show. My buddy's business sponsored the show. Our friends' businesses sponsored the show, but it was all like freemium stuff. It was nothing, nothing paid. And then we had somebody reach out to us, a grill company, and was like, hey, we'll pay you guys and we'll give you product or whatever. And immediately I was like, oh, but my friend didn't want to do it. He owned a business. I owned a business too, but he owned, a fishing company. And he's like, dude, I just want to do this as a hobby. Like totally don't want to make money at it, blah, blah, blah. And that was probably one of my first mistakes in creating a podcast, was not having an agreement with the co-host, not really seeing the big picture of what was going on. So unfortunately, man, I ended up not really losing the podcast, because that was the first time I ever monetized the show. I sold my half of it to my co-host, and I exit stage left and went and started another entrepreneur style podcast or whatever, and did that to drive, business to my company. And then it wasn't until the pandemic that I was in a relationship with a friend of mine who had a fishing newspaper. And so he was like, dude, we got to go digital. It's 2020. And I'm like, cool, we'll do a podcast for you, help you out, whatever. Didn't want to pay the fee. And so I was like, cool, well, let's just partner on the show and we'll just do 50-50 and we'll go get a sponsor. And so, man, that second time around, I learned a lot from the first time. And the second time I had a plan. I knew the potential of the show. I knew what it could do. I knew what it was capable of. And I knew like that we could build it out really nicely and go get a sponsor early on. So that first sponsor, to be honest with you, wasn't hard at all, because we, used the relationships that we already had within the industry and went out and just pitched. One, I had already done this once, so it was like, I know I can do it again. I just sold a show. I can build another great show, and so that was like the real pitch was not how big is the show or how many numbers. It was really the quality of the audience to say, hey, I know I can go out and get saltwater people who are fishing in saltwater to listen to our show. And those are the people who you want to buy a boat from you or whatever. And so our first sponsor was a boat dealership, and they came on at episode number 5. So we just put out episode 100 at the time of this recording this week. And yeah, man, it was awesome. So we've been sponsored for 95 episodes.
I mean, that's incredible. I mean, that's a dream. I mean, so here's the question, because the first thing that I find an advertiser asks when you start opening up that conversation, when you start reaching out, is what are your KPIs? How many downloads what's the market, how many clicks you getting, all that good stuff. How are you able to land an actual sponsor with only 5 episodes in? You're probably not getting a ton of downloads at that point, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, I had 400 total downloads.
Okay.
In 4 episodes. So divide that up, roughly maybe 100 people listening to the show, if the analytics are even correct, which no one really knows. And so how I was able to do that was able to go and say, I pitched the vision of what we were doing. I get it. I mean, you see people all the time pitching these companies. They've never sold anything. They don't even have a product, and they're raising millions of dollars in capital to do this idea. And I'm sitting here going, wait a second, like, I know I can do this. I've already done it one time. And so that was more the conversation, was to go to the sponsor after 400 downloads and say, hey, here's our product. Here's the show that we've built. We have a relationship with you in other areas that we've done some stuff. So we're looking for somebody to partner with us to come on and be your logo beside of us and build this thing with us. And so it was more of an investment pitch, not just a sponsorship pitch. And I think what I focused on mostly was the community and the strength of that community. And I think a lot of people go out and focus on numbers. I didn't focus on numbers. I focused on how many people are listening to my show. I focused on the people, not the numbers. I focused on the quality, not the quantity. And sure, I get pushback all the time from, oh, wait, your show's how much? $397 for 12 episodes or whatever it is. I can't remember. Maybe it's 500 and something now. And I had a lady do this not too long ago from an insurance company. And she said, I can't believe it. Like, your CPM is like $350 or something crazy. And, with your numbers, and it should be like $10 or whatever. And I'm like, or, $18, 15 to 18 or whatever, 28, whatever it is. I don't really keep up with it. And I said, well, that's fine. And if you want to operate that way, we can. But my show produces downloads, if that's what you're after, every single episode, every single month. So if you want me to go back and track every single download, because I leave it in there for the life of the show. I don't have an ad system that's pushing and pulling ads. I leave it in there. And that's the part of the value proposition is I'm going to bake it into the show. It's a one-time ad spend for a lifetime ad. Now I challenge you, tell me one marketing platform that you can pay one time, and it's going to be in there for the lifetime. Nothing. Everything has a shelf life. And so that was really the conversation and the pushback that I give, because I can prove that our show is evergreen content. How you catch a flounder in the coast of North Carolina today is probably how you're going to catch one 5 years from now. And people just love it and they eat it up, and it's a hobby podcast. And so, yeah, man, I think that's the thing that I really focus on, was like community, the quality of the audience, the niche of the audience, and really being passionate. And I think when you walk into somebody's office and, you inquire about their business and their needs and what their desires are, that's huge. And I'm an entrepreneur and business owner, so it was a little bit easier for me, I think, to do, have some of those conversations. But yeah, man, it's all about the people, not the down. It's all about the quality of the audience, not the quantity. It's about people and not downloads. And I think if you can bring those things together, the person on the other side writing that check is a person. Keep that in mind. And I've done deals with small brands. I just did a deal with a big box store that's 1,400 outdoor shops all over the country. And it's still a person that's writing that check, that's making that decision. And I think once I realized that, I was no longer intimidated to push back against, some of the stuff that's allowed to happen to content creators, which I think is highway robbery, that we would do all the work we do, build the quality audience that we do. And, it's like I can get into all this philosophy, Mark, but I'm going to be quiet and let you, ask me something else, I guess.
Well, so there's a lot of like really good stuff, a lot of nuanced stuff. As you're talking, I'm like, I can't wait to listen back to this episode again, because there's a lot of really good tips in there. And what I think it comes down to, Billy, is you're the one who's framing the conversation, the value proposition. You're not going off of, oh, well, how many downloads per episode you get? We'll pay you, X CPMs, X per thousand downloads. You're framing it as, I've got a highly engaged audience that's interested in this niche and this product, and it's going to be evergreen. It's going to last forever, which is very valuable, I think. And the other type of advertisements that you can run are dynamic ads, right? But if I'm hearing you right, you're probably, especially when you're a smaller podcaster, let's say you're not getting, 10,000 downloads per episode, you're probably going to be more interested in selling that evergreen type of advertisement, if I'm hearing you correctly. I think that makes sense.
Yeah, because I think what happens, you have a CPM model. For people listening or watching who don't know what that is, it's cost per milli, which means basically you're going to get paid a rate per 1,000 whatever downloads, impressions, views, whatever that looks like. And this is a big system, and this is kind of how all marketing and advertising is bought and sold. And it makes sense if the product, which is the ad, which is the show, has a shelf life, which we do not. So I want to get paid, and I want to charge one time, but I'm doing a premium because I know I'm not getting paid every single week. And by the way, I've worked with networks that are huge. They're getting 40, 50,000 downloads a week, and they're on the phone all the time trying to get somebody to sign up for a week, or trying to get, 20,000, like you buy 20,000 downloads, and then they have an ad delivery system that's pushing ads and pulling ads. So really, you're doing all this work. You're recording the ad spots. You're putting them in. You're programming them into your system, and then you might not even have that advertiser next week because they might say, "Well, it didn't really do what we wanted to in 7 days, so now we're out." Versus me, I just signed 2 52-week contracts this year for our show because I've built this really quality relationship with a partner, not just a sponsor. And I think that's the thing for me is I'm setting up a salary for a year versus trying to run and gun and chase money all day to get people to sign up for a CPM model, or just outsourcing it to some company that takes 20% of my income and just puts me, with the mattress company. It's like, cool, I get a mattress company on my fishing show. Sure, everyone sleeps on a mattress. Everybody needs a mattress, but people did not come to my podcast to learn about mattresses. They came to my podcast to learn about fishing stuff. And so the tighter I can get these two audiences, the sponsor and this audience, the tighter I can get them in relationship together, and with me as well, this little triangle, this little love triangle, the better off I am. And I don't have to have a million conversations. I have one conversation a year. Like, hey, how many episodes do you sign up for? Oh, we're all in 52, So we've done that a couple of times already. And it's from not taking every person who wants to sponsor our show and making them a sponsor. It's taking the right people, building the right relationships.
I like that. So, because, I'm with you, I want to create content, right? I want to focus on my business. I want to focus on finding a new advertiser every other week. Like, that's no fun. That's a whole nother job that you can avoid by developing a 52-week relationship. I think that makes a lot of sense. All right. So Billy, you've already framed out a great way to actually find the right people for the right niche, frame the right conversation. But when we're reaching out to a potential partner, potential advertiser, we're going to want to probably be putting an offer together. Okay. So when you're developing your offer with your partner, is it just, you're going to get a spot, 30-second spot on my podcast? Is it plus YouTube? Is it plus Instagram? Is it plus LinkedIn? Do you try to package everything together? or does that get too complicated? How do you recommend putting together your pitch?
Yeah, man, I think this is a great question. I help people do this all the time. And everybody gets caught up on media kits, right? They're like, media kit, media kit, media kit. Now I have one. I coach people to start them. I think you have to have them. But I create a media kit for me, to keep me organized, to keep me accountable, to keep me on pace, to make sure I'm, charging what I should be and making sure our show is growing and all that. It's a living, breathing document that is really for me. Now I do share it. I do share it with potential sponsors, but it's not my salesperson. I think it's a very good assistant to me as a salesperson. So when I am putting all that together, and I just got to do what I'm capable of doing, what myself and my co-hosts are capable of doing. So, we sat down, we had a conversation like, yeah, we want to do this, this, and this. And some of that stuff is, hey, let's include them into our marketing, our YouTube, our, video, like a logo on the screen the entire time of the show. Like that's a huge value proposition for a 45-minute show every single week. It's like, that's a lot of ad placement. We're going to shout them out on our social media when we promote the episode. We're going to, so we have all these different perks that we've put together, and we have like a 3, 6, and 12-month package. And each one of them is different. It's kind of like buying software. You get buy software. It's like, oh, get the free plan. Oh, get the plus plan, get the plus plan, and get the 3+ plan or whatever. And it just takes whatever's in these 3 or 4 packages and puts it on the end. And that's the most expensive one. And you maybe add one more feature to it. And so we took that same approach and just kind of figured out what that is. And so, it is like a 15 to 30 second ad read, or, if they're really doing a lot of episodes with us, we'll be like, hey, if you want to record something and have a face in the show, we can play that as well. So there's a lot of different perks, I would call it. What we did originally, Mark, is we went into our industry and figured out, what does that look like already? So I didn't want to create my own media kit, my own sponsorship package, and it be totally different than anything these sponsors have seen before. And then I'd have to create more friction in the conversation. Now I'm explaining how to read my media kit, not asking which package do you want. And so that would be my first thing, is like, go whatever industry you're in, figure out where those people are sponsoring already and go look at what those sponsorship kits look like and make something similar. Now you might change it. We changed it the second year because that was too much for us we had like, dude, it was like frequency discounts. It was like 4 episodes, 8 episodes, 12, 16, 24, 36, 52. It was like too many discounts, rates or whatever. And then we had like 5 different packages from like bronze to platinum or something. It was like, I can't keep up with all this. So we shortened it. It's 3 packages, very similar packages. And if they do like 12 months, then we throw in some, a couple extra perks or whatever. But it's basically everyone gets like a platinum package. And then the 6 and 12 month get a couple little extra bumps in there as well. But it's really about knowing, if I had to say where I would start though, I would not start by creating a media kit. I would really start by figuring out like, is my show worthy to be sponsored? And that's a tough pill for people to swallow, but it really is like, are you consistent? Are you showing up? Is there frequency? Like, do you really have a plan to be a content creator and get paid to be a content creator? Everybody wants to be everybody wants to make money and do their own thing and be their own boss. But the people who do, we know that's a tough freaking road that we got to wake up and face every single day. And we have to make that decision every day. Like, I'm going to push through. I'm going to do the hard stuff. And it's the same thing with building a show and that's worthy of sponsors. And it's, are you showing up? Are you frequent? Are you passionate about the subject? Like, can you keep on track? Can you manage it? Can you show up at the same time every week? Dude, we've been every episode for 100 episodes, Tuesday, every Tuesday for the last 100 Tuesdays. We've not missed one episode, not one. And it's just because we decided early on, this is a business and this is what we're going to do. And we're going to treat it like a business. And if we don't show up like a business, we don't make money like a business. So I would say be really hard on yourself first if you want to monetize through sponsorships, because now you're getting paid and now it is work. It's a job for sure. You
got to put out. But you know what? I just want to just let everyone that's watching now and listening. I agree with Billy. You got to be hard on yourself, but you know what? Don't doubt your capability. because if you don't start taking action, if you don't start shooting shots, it's not going to happen. I mean, I could give you a bunch of different stories about how when I shot a shot and I asked for the sale, or I, asked to speak on a stage, and it happens. It can happen. I mean, Facebook is flying me out to DC in a couple of months because I took my shot, right? So I guess my question here, Billy, is, assuming we're ready to shoot our shot. And by the way, this month is all the mastermind members, we're going to be looking to make money with our podcast. That's the theme of the mastermind program this month. And definitely a special shout out to Billy here from creatingformoney.com and helping us do that, Billy. Billy, thank you.
Let's go. Make that cash register ring. Let's go.
Let's go, babe. Let's make that money. I mean, this is a lot of work producing a show all the time. I'm producing at least one, sometimes 2 or 3 times a week, multiple platforms, and it's a lot of work. I want to get paid. I'm trying to make that money, as I know all the podcast savants out there are trying to do. So we've got a plan. We're starting to put things together. How do you actually go about the pitching process? Are you just going and starting to email different brands that might be interested? Like, how are you actually getting people on the phone or in the DMs that might actually buy, that might actually sponsor you?
Yeah, this is great, man. So first of all, once again, it's kind of like knowing your audience, knowing your niche, knowing who's going to fit those. So I'll give you guys the plan right here. It's work. It's definitely work, but I make a list of about 4 to 5 categories. I would say this is pretty healthy. I make a lot because I'm in it, but I make 4 to 5 categories of types of industries that serve my audience. So I'll keep it in the fishing space: boat dealers, cooler companies, clothing companies, trailer hitch companies, auto companies like dealerships, like trucks, campers, any of this outdoor stuff, tackle, all this. I'll make all these different categories. And then I will do the research and figure out, how do I get 4 to 5 companies or brands within each one of those categories, so that really match my audience. And so, and it might be products or whatever, and then I'll put all those in there. So by the time I do this little exercise, I now have 20 to 25 prospects, or 16 to 25 prospects, essentially, that I can reach out to. Now, I want to feel good about it. I want to feel good about the product. And maybe I'm in a Facebook group, and maybe the Facebook group's like, oh man, you guys check out these new boots, or blah, blah, blah. And people are promoting them. I know they use them. Hey, my community's already using your stuff. Like, let's come on and let's start, putting you out in front of them more. Yeah. So it's like really finding that. And then also, if you're in the industry, whatever industry that is, I get targeted on Instagram all the time by boating companies who have boating accessories. Guess who I'm reaching out to? I know they have marketing dollars. They're right there spending them, trying to get me to buy their stuff. So I shoot them a DM. Hey, or actually, I don't even really shoot them a DM. We're podcasters. I use my voice. So I send them a little voicemail. Hey, this is Billy over here at Fisherman's Post Podcast. Man, I get about 20,000 people listening to my show every single month. I just got targeted from your ad. Is this something that you do? Do you guys sponsor podcasts? That's all I'm trying to do, is figure out, do they sponsor podcasts? And a lot of people go, no, man, I've never done that. We talked about it, but we haven't done it. Cool. So let's do this. Let's set up a call. Let me, explain to you and your team what it looks like and why podcast advertising is valuable. And the only thing I'll do in return is you give me like 5 minutes to tell you about my show and see if it makes sense for you guys. And so I've actually gotten on calls where I'm coaching companies who've never bought advertising, why advertising is so important in podcasting. And you think about all the stats of podcasting. It's like podcast listeners make more money. All right. That's a huge one. They're more dedicated than any other audience I've ever seen. I make podcasts a part of my weekly routine. It's like, dude, this isn't just blowing smoke. It is like, these people are so engaged, and they've built a relationship with us as hosts. I know podcast hosts, if they walked in this room right now, never met them, that I listened to their show, I'd be like, oh, pull up a chair. Let me get you a cup of coffee. Let's talk about episode number 35 where, so-and-so found that, dead body in the pool or whatever it is, like let's talk about it. But that's the quality, and that's the value of what we're doing as podcasters, is this relationship, and I think that's what people don't, I think it's one thing you got to get mentally prepared when you're reaching out to sponsors, is to really think, man, I'm a person. I'm not an ad in a newspaper. I'm not a billboard. I'm not, like some crap you see on the aisle at the grocery store. Like, I'm a living, breathing person who's building relationships, and those relationships are valuable. And word of mouth is the number one marketing tool in the world, even with all this technology that we have. And so when I say to my 5, 10,000, 20,000, or 500 people, hey, I bought this Dasani lime water. It's amazing. You guys should go check it out. Guess what?
Yeah.
They're going to go check it out. There's a good percentage that's going to go check it out. And so, I think that would be one of my things, Mark, is like, you got to be confident. You got to be confident what you're doing and in your product. So once you get this list, so you get the list and you curate it, you feel pretty good about it. And this from being in sales, I do what's called what I call is like a discovery call. I'll just call the company up because my most powerful asset is my voice. I can't write. I'm not a very good writer, so I'm just not going to send emails. But I will call and just talk to somebody. Hey, Mark, Savant, media. This is Billy. Is Mark in today? Or if I know the person, I'll call him. I'll ask for the person. If not, I ask them who it is, and I just say this: hey, who handles your marketing, your advertising? Depends on what size company it is. It might be the person you're talking to on the phone, might be the owner, might be a marketing department, but you want to get all the information as much as you can and all the information of the person answering the phone, because they're going to answer the phone again. So guess what? If you build a relationship with them and you're nice to them and you're not just trying to blow past them and treat them like trash because you want to try to get a check, and build relationships from the first person you talk to the last person who inks that check for you. And I've seen this work for us time and time again where, it's almost a joke. Like, oh, hey, is Larry in today? Oh, no, he's not. I'm like, yeah, I know he doesn't work on Wednesdays. I was just calling to talk to you, actually. It's like,
yeah.
It's kind of that stuff that makes the world go round. It's being a person to other people. So, man, I'll get all that information. I'll get the person's name that's on the phone call, because what's happened, if I'm talking to Sue, and one day by miracle, she gives me Larry's email or I get his phone or whatever, I'll go, hey, Larry, this is Sue. Sue told me you're the best person to talk to. Already, I got a connection there. Already, it went from a cold, like, who the heck are you, to like, oh, Sue? Doesn't matter if how I know her or how much I know her. It just matters that I know her name, and it brings that connection better. So, that's the thing too. Like, get on the phone, make these calls, figure out who you need to talk to. And then, just ask them for 15 minutes and this is what I don't, there's nothing special I do. I go, hey, I got a fishing show. I think you guys would be an amazing, partner on the show, sponsor on the show, because you do this, this, and this. I've studied your business. I know you sponsored the fishing show, the tackle show, the boat show, the fishing tournament. I know you do 4 events a year. I'm asking you to take a look at another event. And I make it all about the sponsor, because I know you already serve my industry. I know you're already passionate about the saltwater fishing community. I've created something else that you can get involved in. I'm not doing this. Hey, what's up, mister? Like, I'm so awesome. I'm a 5-time award-winning podcaster. I have, every accolade. They don't care. They don't know anything about podcasting, but they know about their business, and they want to hear people talk, not that they're like, I want to hear you talk about me, but what do you want from me? And I want the value of what they bring to the fishing industry for real to be a part of my community, because that's how I go after sponsors as well. Like, are you a good fit for my community? And I do Google reviews and everything, because I don't care if they call me with $1 million. If they got 5, like 2-star review and everybody's like, man, these people are trash, they're not coming on my show, because I need them to take care of my people. So that's kind of a long answer to that question, Mark, but I just wanted to give you my whole process there.
No, I mean, it's absolute gold. Again, I'm going to probably have to listen to this episode a couple times because there's so many nuggets here, Billy. You're just crushing it. It also brings me back to a book that I'm reading now, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, which is a fantastic book. And he talks a lot about this process, about how to actually get people to like you, because people buy from people that they like. And 100%. One of the keys that you pointed out was getting to know Sue and getting to know what Sue likes. And, when you get on the phone with someone, don't just talk about yourself, talk about a topic that they're passionate about, or get them, even better yet, get them talking about the topic that they're passionate about. And then there's a connection that happens there. That takes time. It takes time.
Yeah. And I'll tell you one more thing about calling, and I throw a lot of mud on the wall. So I'm always trying new stuff. I don't care. In my opinion, there's unlimited amounts of people who can sponsor my show, and I only need a few. So unlike some other sales jobs out there where you need volume, I don't need volume. So I have a lot of room to mess up. I have a lot of room to say dumb stuff. I have a lot of room to try something. So this worked really well for me the other day. I called somebody, and I called them a couple times, and the person's like just kept sending me to their voicemail. And I would just leave this old generic voicemail or whatever. And I'm like, man, that's just not working. They're not calling me. So the last time they sent me to it, and I said, hey, so-and-so, this is Billy with Fisherman's Post Podcast. Hey, look, I'm reaching to, X amount of people every month with my show. And I'm curious if you'd be interested in taking a look at what that would look like. Now, that's a pretty generic conversation. But what I did at the end, and I didn't really even mean to do this, I just kind of like flubbed into it. I said, if text messaging is easier and more convenient for you, shoot me a text at 910 blah, 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 blah. I'm telling you, Mark, within 2 minutes, bing, phone pops. Hey, this is so-and-so, just got your voicemail. I would love more information. Here's my email. So I went from trying to call somebody every other day to get in touch with them to literally talking to them within 2.5 minutes of calling for the last time. And now we're working on a fairly big deal that's hopefully going to come through. I mean, my fingers still cry. I've been working like crazy, and all the CPM talk and all this. I mean, I've been working it like crazy to overcome some of these objections. So I'll have to follow up on you.
Yeah. And obviously one of the objections or one of the questions that people are going to have is, do you have any references? Do you have any referrals? So I am also curious, Billy, assuming you actually, and all the mastermind members out there, assuming you actually we get someone on board and we sell the ad spot and we start running the ads and it's raining money everywhere and we're just making it rain. How do we actually show the value on the back end? How do you say, hey, thanks for being a sponsor for the past quarter. This is what we have to show for it. Like, how can you actually show that tangible benefit? Because that's definitely something I'm going to be looking at as a business owner, is the return on my investment.
Absolutely, man. So here's what you have to do. You got to get creative. So we ran into this because we knew we were going to run into it. So we're like, okay, ROI, we don't have any trackable links. We don't have any like affiliate links or any of this kind of stuff. We don't have a system to track this. So we got to come up with something that's creative within our show. So now, unlike most, if you go Google ad placement for podcasts, it's going to say a lot of different stuff, mostly like pre-roll, mid-roll, post-roll, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I don't do any of that crap. Basically, what we do is we have a sponsor segment that we talk about our sponsors, and we really give them some love in that segment. So with one of our main sponsors who came on at episode 5 and has been with us ever since for 95 episodes, we really made them a part of the show. Like we have a little 30-second commercial that they sent us. So it's, hey, here's a word from, XYZ. We play that, we come back and we talk about, their company or whatever. And then my co-host comes up with this joke, like this fishing joke that one of the owners sends in to us or tells us or calls us or whatever. And so it's some dumb fishing joke, right? Like just a dumb joke. And then we say, hey, by the way, like go to Marine Warehouse Center and tell Terrell to tell you a joke. This has been a thing, dude. And so this guy doesn't listen to the podcast because he's not really techie, but the other owner does, and his whole staff does. So people come in there all the time and say, hey, Terrell, will you tell us a joke? Will you tell us a joke? Will you tell us a joke? And so it's been this, and he's like, what did these people ask me to tell them a joke? Like, this is why are they doing this? And so it's a little annoying to him, but to the whole other staff, it's like hilarious, and they're having a lot of fun with it. And so they said to us, like, hey, we've had the most amount of feedback from this advertising. It's like the second thing that we do. It's like the second most interaction we get from any other advertising. Now, they've been sponsoring like a big festival and, main sponsors of it and all that kind of stuff that they get a lot of action from. But as far as our stuff, they get the most amount of feedback. So you got to figure out what the ROI means. We immediately go to like, oh, it just means money. But it might mean engagement. It might just mean, like people coming in, and if you had 10 people come in a day and say, hey, tell me a joke, it's like, okay, this is working. People are watching the show. They're listening. They're seeing our branding. Maybe they're coming in and buying a $50,000, $60,000 boat. Maybe they're not. Maybe they're just coming in and buying a part or whatever. But this is valuable because they're seeing our stuff. They're paying attention to the show, and we're building this community. And I think any business in any size really wants to build a community. That's how you make money. Like everybody's going to build something and sell something to somebody. And the more people that you can have their attention and build that relationship and trust, and they'll buy from you, the more money you make. And so that really was kind of our model, was to make them more part of the show and not just do, okay, here's a 15-second ad read and we're on to the next segment. Like we really personalize it and make them a part of our world. And dude, it has just worked flawlessly. And then the second part is still about community. So we have fishing guides who come on our show. So I follow up with them and say, hey, what happened after the show? Did you get booked more trips? Did anybody call you? Did anybody do anything? And they say, one guy told me last year, yeah, man, I grew 20% from being on your show, and it's all new business. And I'm like, that's crazy. So guess what? Now I go to my sponsor when I do some meetings with them and say, hey, what's the return on investment that you're doing? You're supporting this fishing captain, this fishing guide who's supporting the industry. And so his business grew 20%. Well, guess what? Now he's coming over to you and buying a new boat. And so that's the kind of stuff that, we're trying to accomplish. Is we're trying to look at the 30,000 foot deal and saying, hey, how can we build this massive community and not just get this check? Getting a check is great, trust me, but building this massive community is even better. And if you get the right sponsors, they're going to help you do it. Our sponsor, if we don't post on Instagram and tag them in it, I get a phone call whatever week. If our girl misses it and she doesn't do it right, hey Billy, where's the thing at? We want to promote it. They're promoting our episodes probably harder than we are at times.
Wow.
Yeah. If you get the right people. Now, if you get the mattress company, they're not going to do nothing for you. They're going to rake you over the coals and not give you anything. But if you get the right sponsors, they're going to help push your show just as hard, if not harder than you do it sometimes. I mean, our sponsors do it all the time.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like the way that you approach this, Billy, in trying to actually develop relationships. It's less transactional. It's more relationship based. Do we want to be part of the community that we're building with our podcast? This is my podcast. These are the type of people that we've gotten it. You're pitching the value of podcasting and saying, do you want a partner? Do you want a partner? Do you want someone that's going to help you grow, not necessarily just fiscally, but also leveraging the media impact that you have as a digital media producer? Very smart.
Yeah. And the frequency, man, that you show up is just so huge. It's like, the rate, and here's how we kind of set pricing this way, man, cause I know that's probably people are going, well, what do I even start with? Like I literally, the question I asked my co-host when we were talking about pricing, it was like, what do you want to make every time we sit in this chair? And he's like, dude, I want to make $100. I'm like, cool, me too. And so that was our price. It was like $200 an episode. And, $800 a month. And when you're starting out with 400 downloads to make $800 a month, it was like, cool, you're making 400. I'm making 400. This is great.
Yeah.
But here's the ticket. Here's what we've done though, is for those first sponsors who came on and said, we're going to support you guys, we grandfather that rate in until they say no. Now, if they cancel and don't renew, then it goes to full pricing, which is much more than $800 now. But it's a part of community. It's part of relationship. Sure. Could I go back and at any moment at this time and say, look, my show is way more valuable than it was 2 years ago. I really need this new rate. Sure, I could. Would they pay it? Probably so. But I'm building that relationship and I want them to know like, this is more than just money, but we're building something great here as a community. And you'll find those people listening to your show too, by the way. I got 2 sponsors from actually making a mistake and going, oh, hey, here's our sponsors, blah, 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 talking about them. By the way, if you're a business owner and you want to sponsor our show, reach out to me. My email is billy@blinkblinkblink.com. Next thing I know, bing, bing. Hey, man, didn't know you guys were open for sponsorship. Would love to take a look at it and sponsor. I'm like, wow, but that's the power of community. Like people listening to your show probably have a business that catered to your content and will, want to be a part of it.
Well, you got the juices flowing here on my side, Billy, because you got to be making some money with your podcast. I know that it's a hobby, but it takes up so much time, and, passion, I think, can only get you so far. And when you're talking about really growing something that matters, monetizing is definitely a part. And there's a lot of different ways you can monetize your show, but sponsorship is something that is increasingly becoming more interesting to me as I get more and more emails. But, finding the right partner, I think is really, really important. And, I think one of the challenges with my podcast is and you might debunk this, but it's harder for me to develop a relationship, I think, like what you're talking about, because, in the digital media field, I'm thinking about who would be a good sponsor for the show. And it might be like a software company. Maybe it's a hardware company, a mic company, or something like that. I'm just trying to think of I guess the natural way of saying, hey, you get for each click that you get on this link, then you can measure the clicks. I'm just wondering if there's other ways, because I really like your approach of not making it so transactional, making it more relationship based. So I'm going to think about that. And I hope all the mastermind members are thinking about that as well. Do you have any thoughts on that thought, Billy?
Yeah, man, I think what you allow will persist. I don't know what quote that's from or who quoted or who said that, but it's true. It's like, and I'm working deals right now with other projects with audio companies, with some of my favorite audio companies that I'm really excited about. And so, but I got to be creative. And I think this is the thing. If you create your media kit and you're like, this is my pricing, I'm not coming off of it, you're probably not going to do many deals. But if you get creative, give people breaks, or figure out how you can create like I'm working with an insurance company right now. They're marine insurance, super great company, makes a whole lot of sense. And they're pushing back on a CPM model. Like, I can't really find the value in the pricing that you're giving us, all that kind of stuff. I'm like, well, cool. What do you want? They're like, well, we want to come on the show. And I'm like, okay, we can do insurance, but it's going to be in the wintertime. It doesn't make a lot of sense for you. And it can be boring because insurance is boring. So let's pick, it doesn't have to be, with the right person and the right, like whatever, maybe it's not, but we did one insurance show. It was cool, but it was boring. Like, it didn't do well. So I was like, however, what we can do for this rate is you can give an insurance tip on the show. Every episode that you sponsor.
Oh, that's cool.
You give us a little insurance tip. You record it if you want to. We'll just put it in because it's no more work for us. We drag and drop it in or live to drive it. And so I think when you start getting creative, and it's not just, hey, this is my workflow and this is what I got to do and this is how I got to do it. And if you don't want to do this, then we're out. That's not a partnership. That's not a relationship. That's a transaction. And so we get super creative in that way. And I think too, Mark, one thing that you said is like, maybe it's not the best fit or who is the best fit or whatever. There's a lot of ways to look at your podcast and figure out where the value is. I know one podcaster in particular had this conversation with me, and I said, well, what you got to do is you got to look at your region of people that you're reaching. Where's the area that gets the most action? Is it a town? Is it a city? And then you can target within that town or that city. So it just doesn't have to be, oh, I'm the audio company or whatever. Go after the audio brands. That's what I say. Like, yeah, it makes sense that you would go after these companies that we're using and have them sponsor your show and do whatever. But I think too, it's like, oh, am I reaching people in, I don't know, like Johnson City, Tennessee? Like, maybe I got 1,000 people there listening. Well, those 1,000 people are valuable to a local business in Johnson City. So maybe it's a music store. Maybe it's not the greatest fit, but maybe it's a music store that carries the products that you want. And then you bring them on. Well, then guess what? They got connections to the music industry. So you do a couple things. They put you in touch with reps and all this stuff. And you just keep climbing the ladder to get to really where so a couple ideas, but I do. And I admit this all the time. Like, I have a super niche podcast, niche audience, but I think, podcasting is so valuable that if you position yourself right and you have a plan and you think creatively, you can really go in and to any brand and make an impact. I'm doing a deal on a different platform and I have 45 followers on that platform and I'm doing brand deals.
Wow.
It's about
the niche. It's about framing it. It's about the relationship. That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's great.
And it's showing up and just being confident in what you can do as a creator, because really, logo, whatever, your artwork, whatever, it's us. People come for the content and stay for the host. So be so engaging with these brands and these people who are running them that they're just like, man, I'm just going to believe in you and believe in your product and help you get to where you want to be. And that's how I've seen that it's worked for us.
Well, I hope everyone is inspired by Billy, because this month is Monetize My Show month in the mastermind. That's a lot of M's in one place at one time. But I'm just really thankful for Billy Thorpe here from creatingformoney.com. That's creatingformoney.com, and coming and helping, making it rain on all the podcasters here. Yeah. Billy, thanks so much for joining the show, brother.
Yeah, man. Absolutely, Mark. And I think you mentioned something earlier. There's multiple ways to monetize your show. So don't lean heavy on one stream. Create multiple streams. And we could get in that for a whole 2 more days, but don't just lean. Sponsorships is the most profitable thing I do. But there's a lot of other stuff that fills in the blanks that it's really nice when it all adds up.
Yeah. Well, again, this month, one of the ways that I'm monetizing is by creating a paid community where we're going to be learning specific parts of podcasting each month and then really focusing on leveling up that particular topic, right? And so because May is money-making month, Billy, we might have to host a clubhouse room together. We might have to host a clubhouse room on this topic. And I think people would be into it. I think it'd be really, really dope. So I'll talk to you about that. We'll talk about that behind the scenes.
Yeah, man. Sounds good, Mark. I appreciate you having me on, man. It's a ton of fun.
Anytime, brother. Wow, great episode. I love Billy. Such a great human being and really bringing the value. And I just really love this theme about creating relationships with your sponsors. It's a two-way road. And I really dig that. That's the way I like to do business, a two-way road. It's not just one transaction and then it's done. It's how can we be a part? How can we team up to make this thing happen? Speaking of which, if you're trying to make your thing happen and it's just not happening, hit me up, contact@marksavantmedia.com. That's contact@marksavantmedia.com. I want to talk to you. I want to see how I can help you achieve your dreams through podcasting. That's contact@marksavantmedia.com. All right. With all that said, ladies and germs, dogs and cats, boys and girls, I'll catch you here on the next episode. Now go take action. Whatever that action looks like for you, go take it. Catch you next time on the show. Peace.